Welcome back to Newswatch 10, another edition of the Sports Zone with Daily Citizen sports writer and columnist Adam Crone. I'm Jeremy Babin, and we've got a week of high school football in the books, and we got to start off with Calhoun and Dalton at Phil Reeve Stadium. And I'll tell you, Adam, this is exactly what I expected from what I saw from that game. I expected a close game. I thought it could go either way. The home team ended up coming out on top, but I didn't expect it to be as long or quite as many penalties, but there were no surprises for me. I saw an all-around good football game. What did you think of that game?
Yeah, that was great. 3.5 hours of football, which is long for a high school football game. Back and forth. You had two playmakers going at it. You had Derek Rogers from Calhoun, who went for 207 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. And you also had Shaquan Moore, who rushed in and had over 250 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns. So you had two playmakers going back and forth all the way to the end. 4th and short for Dalton late in the fourth quarter. They called the perfect Statue of Liberty play call there. Shaquan Moore just slipped on that artificial turf, the same turf that Trey Beck was having problems with in the run game. Slipped on 4th down, turnover and down, the game ends right there, but Dalton could have had that game. And if I'm them, I feel good about competing with the number 2 team in the state all the way to the end.
And one more thing about that, Derek Rogers. I mean, I don't know if we'll see a player, like that, for the rest of the season. How good is this guy, and what's his potential?
Well, he's got all the tools. He's built like a tight end. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. He's fast. He can shift directions very quickly. Excellent speed, 4.3, 4.40. And he can run the routes. The problem, his downside right now appears to be his attitude. He seems like he feels like he's invincible. I know he's got that commitment to Georgia secured. Georgia's throwing a scholarship at him. He probably feels like he's on top of the world right now because he's living up to the hype. But he got 45 yards in excessive celebration penalties Friday, including 30 yards after his first touchdown for 2 different celebrations. So he's got to get himself under control. He's got to realize that he's got some work to do as far as his attitude. Like I say, he's verbally committed to Georgia if he stays there. I don't know. Something tells me at the last minute he's probably going to bolt to USC or Tennessee, but we'll see how that works.
We'll see. Well, Dalton, they don't have to deal with him again for the rest of the year. They will be dealing with Sprayberry, team that Dalton beat last year. Sprayberry, they've definitely improved from the time that these two teams met last season. What are you looking for in this matchup?
Well, probably another close game. Well, last year's game wasn't so close. Dalton, they pulled ahead early in the passing game, surprisingly. Everyone was expecting him to run the ball. They threw a couple deep balls to Carter Crutchfield and established a big lead early and just held on to it. We'll see what they'll do this year. They're going to be at home this year. Dalton is. So we'll see what they do with the home crowd. We'll see if they just continue to run with Shaquan Moore like they did so effectively last week, or if they're going to try to open up the passing game, which worked for them last year against the Yellow Jackets.
And Southeast and Northwest, there are another 2 teams that played last week. And I will tell you this: Southeast, even though they lost, and on the records and the standings and the paper it shows them with a loss, but when you consider that last year they lost 53-0 to the same team, and they came into their place this year and made it a game. If you're David Crane and the Raider coaching staff, you have to leave that game knowing that you made some pretty big steps from where you were last year.
Absolutely. It all comes back down to that stability. Coach Crane sticking around, not going to South Carolina, and building on the program. They were moving forward from the start. First year at Southeast, David Crane's numbers on the football team rose from about 45 to 80. So they got the numbers up. They've got everyone on the same page. They're moving forward in their direction. And more importantly, the players are starting to grasp better David Crane's spread offense, best executed by Tanner McCutcheon, whose 3 rushing touchdowns kept Southeast in this game. Now, I knew that McCutcheon had worked on his arm strength over this summer, and he has a significantly stronger arm because of that. But I never could have predicted him rushing for 192 yards with touchdown runs of 56 and 64 yards. So that opens up a whole new dynamic in their offense with the running quarterback. We'll see how that progresses. I think Southeast can compete in some games this year.
Well, the first one they'll have to compete with is Model, a team that really went down to the wire last year for Week 2. They got them Week 2 again, this time in Raider Nation. What does Southeast need to do to really even their record at 1-1?
Well, yeah, that's what Coach Crane was talking about. This is one of those 4 losses last year that was a touchdown or less. So they're right there in these games. Maybe, with this extra year of experience, they can push themselves over the hump. Just keep building off what they did this first week, and I think they'll be fine against the Model this week at home.
All right, well,
And I'll be at that game covering it, by the way.
look out for Adam. Well, we got plenty more, and we'll talk about Northwest when we come back from the break. But first, we want to remind you that you can read about Adam Crone's columns and everyone else from the Daily Citizen by subscribing. And to do so, you could give them a call at 706-272-7705. Go to their website, DaltonCitizen.com, or send them an email, subscriptions@DaltonCitizen.com, or in person or by mail. The Daily Citizen that's located at 308 South Thornton Avenue in Dalton, 30720. Stay with us, more to come on the Sports Zone right after the break. You can be a part of the Sports Zone by sending us an email, sports@WDNNTV.com. We also have a P.O. box for people who are PO'd. That's Box 1740 in Dalton, Georgia, 30722. Well, Adam, Northwest, we were going to...
That was a good one with the PO box.
Oh, really? Yeah.
PO'd.
I thought about that last night in my sleep. Well, Northwest against Hiram. Northwest coming off of a win. We're going to see Hiram coming off of another win. They had a 34-point win over Washington last week. Northwest looking to go 2-0. How do you see this game matching up?
This was a game that Northwest Whitfield controlled in Hiram last year. Beat them statistically in the run game, controlled the ball. They just turned it over a couple times, and Hiram scored on both of those opportunities, including a fourth quarter turnover that put Hiram on Northwest's 7-yard line, which they quickly scored the touchdown to go up 21-14, where that score would hold. So they're out there to look for revenge, and we'll see what they can do.
Right. See, it'd be nice for Coach Mike Fuller to go 2-0 to start the season. It'd also be nice for John Ziegler of Maury County to start 2-0. They got Osborne. Osborne only win last season, coming in week 2 against Maury County. So, they obviously have some confidence going into this game. This is at Maury County, though. I guess, for Maury County, it's just making some steps forward. I don't know. They've got enough to make another big step. They got a tough challenge against Osborne.
Yeah, two teams that finished 1-9 last season. Both were disappointed with those outcomes. Both are trying to build on their Week 1 successes. I'm sorry, Maury County is. Osborne lost their game. But, Maury County's going to be at home this year. They're going to have to establish more of a rhythm on offense, get some consistency there. The defense, obviously, they had a shutout last week, so we're going to have to see what they do against a much more athletic team and a much deeper team than Osborne.
Well, Christian Heritage, they're also looking to go 2-0 to start the season. Had a big win last week against the Paulding Panthers. They've got Dominion, another team that's fairly new to the Glory of Christ League. Obviously for Christian Heritage, I don't know if you want to say any win's an easy win, but they have a very good opportunity to start off the season really just like they started off last year.
I mean, it's tough to say. If I'm Christian Heritage, I'm not just going to assume that Dominion's going to come in here and lay down. We don't know what Dominion has. They were supposed to play last week. Their game was delayed on Friday, rescheduled for Saturday. The game was postponed Saturday. So these guys still haven't played a game yet. By the way, Coach Vaden made 2 trips on Friday and Saturday down to Metro Atlanta to try to see this team, and he came away with nothing. So we're going to have to find out what these guys have on game day. And Christian Heritage is going to be ready. They're going to be well coached. And from that point, I would feel confident about Christian Heritage's chances. But again, we have no idea who Dominion is.
I guess we'll find out next time we meet. We'll also find out how the first college football week will go because it starts tonight. And I got to tell you, Adam, I am ready. I'm long overdue. I was probably ready 2 months ago for college football.
Let's get your predictions, and I'll give you mine.
Sounds good.
We'll start with tonight. Utah State at number 19 Utah. Game kickoff at 9 o'clock.
Oh, there's no question. Utah, I'd say they're going to run away with this one. But I want to know what you think about Georgia Tech and Jacksonville State.
Georgia Tech, ranked number 15. They'll play Saturday at 1 o'clock, and I think they'll beat the unranked Jacksonville State team pretty handily. And but what about at the Georgia Dome? There's a big game, 8 o'clock primetime, number 5 Alabama versus number 7 Virginia Tech.
I don't think this is going to be that bit close of a game. I think that Alabama is going to run away with this game. I really feel like Alabama's got a great team going into this year. Obviously roll with the tide in this game. But I want to know, this is the game I think of that everyone's going to be looking at. Number 13, Georgia. Number 9, Oklahoma State at Stillwater. Your thoughts on this one?
I think it's going to be a battle of the offenses. 2 subpar defenses, 2 great offenses. You know Willie Martinez does not do good against big-time offenses. So I'm expecting this to be a high-scoring game. With Oklahoma State taking the home field advantage, I'm going to predict Georgia loses this game.
Oh, well, we are definitely going to agree to disagree on this one. So next time we meet, and I'll definitely keep this tape, we'll see who was right and who was wrong. Because I feel pretty confident that Georgia's going to win this game. So I'll look forward to this game for sure. But we'll also look forward to coming back here next week as we do this again. The Sports Zone coming up next week. And that'll do it for this week's edition. He's Adam Crone. I'm Jeremy Babin. Have a good night.